CDI units, black boxes. I've got three knackered ones here. These are actually Kawasaki 550 GT, the shaft drive, from 92 to 2000. They all use the same black box. And I just wanted to have a chinwag about the experiences I've had with my bike cutting out randomly and suddenly, and what I got to find out about black boxes in general. And make no mistake, I am certainly no electrician or expert, but from my experience, what I found out will probably be of some use. The one that's clamped inside the jaws of the vice, yeah, very naughty, I know, but I've put it in there that way up because that's how it sits in the frame. You've got two mounting holes, 6mm, on hex heads. They often seize and they're difficult to get out. Inside there are what I call teeth. There's 10 of them. And the two sitting up here, you might just be able to see the greening on one of the contacts or teeth. In there. Now this one in the vice, you can see the teeth are vertical, and what you want to do is get one of these screwdrivers, if you got them. It's a 3mm shank, and just touch the contacts and see if you've got any wiggly teeth. The condensation and water sits at the lowest point, so those lower two contacts will be the ones that corrode first. Once you've got your block connector off, if luck's not on your side, those bottom two will just be corroded and wobbly, and it's of no use to anybody. The block connectors, incidentally, that sit on these, if on your bike your CDI is mounted vertically and the block connector sits vertically, where all the wires go into that block connector, they collect all the grime and dirt and gunge, and that can cause a problem as well. These particular CDIs, they need 9.4 volts to work. So if there's anything wrong with your electrical system, i.e. you've got a starter motor that's playing up and draining a bit of voltage, and you end up with less than 10 volts running through your system, then the CDI unit just won't work, and it will just cut the spark out at your spark plugs. And then when the voltage comes back to life or increases, the CDI comes back to life. So that can explain your on and offing with your ignition circuit, because your black box just isn't getting a consistent voltage above what it needs. And motorcycles built mainly after the late 90s and 2000s, they run on a much lower voltage. I think it's about 3 or 4 volts. So when your wiring loom gets old and tired, over the decades, the modern bikes are going to be more likely to keep going, whereas the older bikes with these type of CDI units, they need a higher voltage to run. On the Yamaha XS1100s, these are mounted to the back of the rear mudguard, and you don't want to be getting an impact driver on there and trying to undo the screws, because not only will it literally break off the tabs, it will destroy what's in the CDI as well. So if you can get a grinder in there and get to the heads, it's actually probably a better way of getting your CDI off the bike. In the manual, it will give you the testing procedure and sequence to find out if your black box is okay. But even if you follow the manual and all your tests come up perfect, it does not mean that your CDI unit is any good. The only way you can be 100% sure is to get a second-hand CDI unit and swap it over. Because I've had these, not these particular ones, but over the years, I've had them tested at various places that specialise in black boxes, and they do them on a computer. You get the print out and it all comes back saying your black box is 100% correct and you've still got a problem. So the whole purpose of this video is just to tell you, you can't be 100% sure unless you get a working CDI off another bike and just swap it over. If you've got an electronic rev counter on your bike, the first sign of your CDI unit playing up is your tacho needle will start jumping about at random all over the place inside your rev counter. And you want to start having a look at your CDI unit because something is going horribly wrong. The other thing that's connected, which I don't really understand, is ignition coils. If you've got problems with ignition coils, they can play havoc with the black boxes as well, and vice versa. Black boxes can play havoc with the ignition coils. If you can ever get to your ignition coils and remove them from underneath the petrol tank where they're trapped by all the heat and get them somewhere out in the open, you can just do a finger touch temperature test on the coil and find out if your coils are overheating. Because if you've got an ignition coil that's running really hot, like I said, it'll play havoc with the black box. Anyway, I hope that might have been some use. But if in doubt, just go and get yourself a second-hand one and swap them over if your bike's randomly cutting out. Because if you don't cure it, when your bike cuts out on a dual carriageway and you've got nowhere to pull over, you're just dead meat. So, yeah, it's more of a safety thing. And just to make you aware of the dangers, when a black box goes wrong, everything else goes horribly wrong. Anyway, catch you later. See ya.